The film opens on Keller Dover teaching his son Ralph how to hunt deer, driving home the same lesson he lives by: be ready to survive anything. Later that day, the Dover family heads to their neighbor's house for Thanksgiving. Keller's wife Grace and their kids join Franklin and Nancy Birch, whose family turns out to have a lot in common with the Dovers. Franklin and Nancy have 2 daughters close in age to Anna and Ralph. That afternoon, Anna Dover and Joy Birch wander around the neighborhood with their older sister Eliza, keeping half an eye on them. The 2 younger girls spot an RV parked nearby and can't resist climbing on it out of curiosity. Back at the house, Anna and Joy ask their parents if they can run over to the Dover place to grab a new toy. That's where things start to unravel. Keller eventually realizes the girls never made it back with their sister watching them. The families search the neighborhood but come up empty, until Ralph remembers the girls mentioning the RV parked on the street. By the time anyone checks, the RV is gone. Detective Loki gets assigned to the case that night, and his team tracks down the RV parked at the edge of the woods. When police move in to search it, the driver bolts into the trees, but a low branch knocks him off his feet before he gets far. They don't find the girls inside, but they do find the driver hiding behind a curtain. Loki presses him again and again about where Anna and Joy are, but the man won't answer. So Loki orders a search team into the woods while the suspect is taken in for questioning. His name is Alex Jones, and after 10 hours of interrogation, he still hasn't said a word that points them toward the girls. With Alex refusing to talk, police comb through the RV for any trace of the girls: fingerprints, hair, torn fabric, but forensics turns up nothing. Determined not to give up, Loki visits Alex's home, where he's lived with his aunt since he was 10. A rusted, long-dead car sits out front, and Loki learns Alex's aunt has raised him since childhood. He searches Alex's room but again finds no evidence, leaving the woods as the only lead they have left. 24 hours pass with no sign of the girls. Loki interviews the Franklin and Dover families again, hoping for a new lead, when Keller suddenly explodes with frustration. The police still haven't found his daughter, even though the man responsible is sitting in custody. Loki explains it's more complicated than that. Alex has a significant intellectual disability, with an IQ roughly equivalent to a 10-year-old's, which means police can't legally interrogate him with force. There's another problem. If they can't produce evidence within the legal window, Alex has to be released. Loki, a detective with a reputation for closing every case he takes, is furious about it and pushes his superiors to hold Alex longer. In the meantime, he starts working through a list of known sex offenders, eventually arriving at the home of a former priest. The man is passed out drunk when Loki arrives, but in searching the house, Loki stumbles onto a hidden room. Once the priest sobers up, he tells Loki that the body in his basement belongs to a man who, years earlier, confessed to him that he had killed multiple children and planned to kill more. Unable to live with what he'd heard, the priest killed the man himself and hid the body, an act of vigilante justice he's carried alone ever since. It's a shocking break, but it still doesn't get them any closer to Anna and Joy. Meanwhile, search teams start combing the river, worried the girls might have drowned, but no bodies turn up. Then, word reaches Keller that Alex is about to be released. He's furious. The man he's sure took his daughter is about to walk free, but legally, Loki has no way to hold him longer. As Alex is escorted out, he mutters something strange to Keller. "They didn't cry until I left them."
They didn't cry until I left them.
No one else hears it, and without a witness, the police start to doubt Keller's account entirely. Loki interrogates Alex one more time before the release, but neither Alex nor his aunt back up what Keller claims Alex said. Loki is left unsure who's telling the truth. He reports his findings to Keller over the phone. At home, Grace is unraveling. Her antidepressants aren't helping anymore, and in her desperation she starts blaming Keller for not doing enough. Pushed past his limit, Keller decides to take matters into his own hands. He stakes out Alex's aunt's house from a distance that evening and, watching Alex interact with a pet, becomes convinced something is deeply wrong with him. Without hesitation, Keller ambushes Alex on the street and abducts him. The next morning, Keller brings his friend Franklin to an old apartment building he inherited from his father, not far from the neighborhood. Franklin is stunned to learn Keller kidnapped Alex overnight. Even if Alex is guilty, this isn't something they're allowed to decide on their own. While Keller and Franklin start their own investigation, Loki tracks down the family of a boy named Barry, kidnapped 26 years earlier by someone driving an RV, a case that's never been solved. That afternoon, Loki returns to the priest, who tells him the man in the basement once admitted to abducting children during the day and, oddly, once had a family of his own, despite it all. From afternoon into night, Keller and Franklin take turns pressuring Alex for answers, beating him repeatedly, but he refuses to break, even when Keller threatens him with a hammer.
Where's my daughter?
News of Anna and Joy's disappearance spreads across the city. That night, neighbors gather outside the Birch house to show support. In the middle of the crowd, Loki spots someone acting suspicious. The moment the man notices he's being watched, he takes off running. Loki chases him through the dark, into a stranger's backyard, before the man vaults past him and vanishes. The sighting shakes Franklin's confidence. What if Alex isn't the one responsible, and they're torturing an innocent man? Keller isn't convinced. He insists the stranger is just a distraction, since Alex is clearly hiding something. Around the same time, Loki learns that Alex has gone missing. He'd assumed his superiors sent someone to keep tabs on him, but no one had. The case is getting more tangled by the hour. That evening, a shopkeeper tells Loki he recognizes the man from the news broadcast. The same man has been coming into his store nearly every week to buy children's clothes. Meanwhile, Nancy finally discovers what Franklin's been hiding, having noticed him leaving the house at odd hours. Rather than confronting him with anger, she wants to talk to Alex directly. When she sees the state he's in, badly beaten, and senses he might still have a conscience, she quietly tries to loosen his restraints so he'll tell them where the girls are being held. It nearly ends in disaster. The incident makes Keller realize beating Alex isn't working. That night he devises something worse, locking Alex in a small, dark room with a pipe rigged above him. Every time Alex refuses to answer, scalding water rains down on him. It's brutal, but Keller convinces himself it's the only way left to find his daughter. Around the same time, while Franklin and Nancy are out, the same suspicious man breaks into their house. Their older daughter is home alone, but he's gone before Franklin returns. Undeterred, the man breaks into the Dover house next, slipping into Anna's room, until Grace notices him. He escapes again without a trace, and Grace calls the police, certain it was her daughter. Loki initially wonders if Grace is hallucinating from stress, so he checks Anna's room and the basement to be sure. While there, he notices some of Keller's equipment lying around, a small sign that Keller might be hiding something of his own. His suspicion deepens further when Grace mentions Keller has been coming home late almost every night, supposedly out searching for Anna. The next day, Loki decides to tail Keller. Already aware he's being watched, Keller stops at a liquor store to see if Loki will follow him in, and confronts him directly. The argument between them gets heated fast. Loki wants to know what Keller's really up to, while Keller is furious that police manpower is being spent following him instead of finding his daughter. Drunk and worn down by everything, Keller comes home and starts hallucinating, imagining Anna crying out for help. When he wakes, he goes straight back to torturing Alex, more convinced than ever that he shouldn't show any mercy. In a moment of desperation, Alex says something strange. He claims he isn't really Alex at all. It only leaves Keller more confused and frustrated than before. Loki suddenly shows up at the building, trying to force his way in. Keller panics, knowing he could go to prison if he's caught. He plays it off as if he's just there to drink alone, and Loki, unconvinced, starts searching room by room. Just as he's about to find where Alex is hidden, The shopkeeper calls to say the suspicious man from earlier just left his store. Loki traces the man's license plate and finally gets an address. Searching the house, Loki finds a piece of cooked meat with blonde hair on it sitting in the kitchen, and in another room, a set of locked black boxes. Unable to open them by hand, he detains the homeowner in his car and grabs a crowbar. Inside the boxes, he finds children's clothing stained with blood, along with a snake and several maze drawings. Franklin and Keller are called to the station to identify clothing recovered from the boxes. According to the suspect, every child he abducted is dead, though he claims not to know where the bodies are. Franklin and Nancy recognize one item as Joy's, confirming, they believe, that their daughter is gone. When it's Keller's turn, he picks out an item he recognizes as Anna's from dozens of photographs, meaning, as far as he knows, Anna is dead too. Keller can't bring himself to tell Grace that Anna might be dead. He wants to find her body first, so he asks Ralph to keep the news, and any newspaper that might carry it, away from his mother. The suspect, Bob Taylor, sits in an interrogation room and is given paper and time to sketch out where he buried his victims. Instead, hour after hour, he only draws mazes. Loki, already worn thin by stress, loses his patience and moves in to confront him directly. And in the chaos that follows, Taylor grabs an officer's gun and turns it on himself. Even with Taylor's confession and the clothing found in his house, Keller still believes Alex knows where Anna is, so he keeps returning to the hideout. Alex eventually tells him the children are trapped in a maze, but never says where. Trying to make sense of it, Keller visits Alex's aunt, pretending to apologize for how he's behaved lately, hoping to learn more about Alex's past. She tells him Alex was bitten by his uncle's pet snake as a child, which may explain his condition. An odd detail, but still no answer to what the maze means. Mid-conversation, Keller catches a news report announcing Taylor's death. Loki, meanwhile, is wrestling with guilt over what happened to Taylor, but he can't stop thinking about the maze drawings either. Back at his desk, something clicks. Taylor's maze drawings look exactly like the pendant on the necklace found on the body in the priest's basement. More truth comes out from there. Forensics confirms the blood on Anna and Joy's clothing isn't human. It's pig's blood. And in Taylor's house, there are no actual bodies, just child-sized dolls standing in for real victims. It turns out Taylor was abducted himself as a child, held for a period of time and drugged so he'd never remember his kidnapper's face. The trauma left him with a compulsion to insert himself into abduction cases, convincing himself he was the culprit and obsessively reading about real kidnappings. Every piece of clothing he'd collected was store-bought and new, except for Anna and Joy's, which were genuine. That detail sends Loki back to Grace's report of a break-in. He realizes the man who slipped into Anna's room wasn't the kidnapper at all. It was Taylor, sneaking in to steal something real to add to his collection. Following Taylor's escape route from that night, Loki finds one of Anna's socks, confirming it. Then comes a break. Police find Joy wandering along a roadside and rush her to the hospital. Keller and Grace get there as fast as they can. Joy tells them she was drugged and given a maze puzzle book. Whoever finished it first, she was told, would be allowed to leave. When their captor wasn't watching, she and Anna tried to run, but Anna was caught before they could get away. Then Joy tells Keller something that stops him cold. "You were there." She'd heard his voice while she was being held. Keller immediately understands what it means. The place he's been torturing Alex must somehow connect to where the girls were really being held. Loki tries to stop him from leaving, but loses track of him. Following his own instincts, Loki heads to the old apartment building, where he finds Alex alone, imprisoned and screaming for help, with no sign of Keller anywhere. Keller, in the meantime, has gone straight to Alex's aunt's house, ready to confront her. He doesn't get the chance. Holly Jones pulls a gun on him first. Everything comes out in that moment. Holly and her late husband spent years abducting children as an act of revenge against God, blaming him for taking their own son's life. Alex, really a boy named Barry, taken 26 years earlier, was their first victim, raised as their own ever since. Taylor was another one of their victims, a boy who'd escaped but never fully recovered from what was done to him. Holly promises Keller he can see his daughter if he does exactly as she says, down to putting on the restraints she hands him and drinking a drugged liquid she gives him. Instead, she leads him to a hidden pit dug into the ground, part of a tunnel system concealed beneath a rusted, abandoned car parked out front, and leaves him trapped there. Keller calls out for Anna from inside the hole, but nothing answers. In the dark, he manages to find a flashlight, and with it, Anna's old emergency whistle. Proof she was held in that same space before him. All he can do is hope his daughter doesn't end up where he now is. That night, Loki's superiors send him back to Holly's house to file his report on the case. The moment he arrives, Holly assumes he's there to arrest her and rushes to drug Anna again before he can stop her. When Loki gets no answer at the door, he lets himself in. A photograph in the house catches his eye. Holly's late husband, wearing the same maze pendant found on the body in the priest's basement. In an instant, Loki understands exactly who's really behind the kidnappings, but he's too late to stop Holly from drugging Anna. The two of them exchange gunfire. A bullet grazes Loki's forehead, a serious wound, but not a fatal one, while Holly is killed.
Don't move and show me your fucking hands.
Bleeding heavily and struggling to see, Loki carries a critically ill Anna to his car and races to the hospital, panic rising as she starts foaming at the mouth from the drugs in her system.
Stay with me, Anna. Stay with me, Anna, sorry. Help!
The next day, a newspaper reveals that Alex Jones was really a boy named Barry, abducted 26 years earlier and finally reunited with his real family. Beneath that story, another headline notes that Keller Dover is still missing, his whereabouts unknown. Back at the Jones property, Loki lingers alone in the yard, the case seemingly closed. Then he stops. Somewhere beneath his feet, carried faintly through the pipes, comes the sound of a whistle, the same one Keller gave Anna, blown over and over into the dark. Loki turns toward it. The film cuts to black before he takes another step, leaving Keller's fate to the audience alone.
You all done for the night?